Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca and I am doing this video for biology. It's regarding a video that we had to watch on genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. So I'm going to answer some questions on that. And the first one is, describe the viewpoints of each of the following groups towards GMO foods, or genetically modified foods. And also we're supposed to include an answer, description of the groups they give us, the credentials, and what's stake, if any, each has in the success or failure of genetically modified food in the marketplace. So the first, I guess I'll just go through the list. So American consumers is one of them. You also have anti-GMO groups and advocates. You have pro-GMO groups and advocates. You have industrial scale farmers, organic and small scale farmers, agricultural biotech companies, and then scientists. So first of all, American consumers, and some of the interviews they gave were from back in 2013. They did in Hawaii. They had a bill that they proposed to be rid of, or to exempt, what they said, rainbow papaya plants, because it was genetically modified. One of the council members who was big and known for this whole process was named Margaret Willey. She was a council member, but she basically wanted to close the doors on the island and what they did to produce those papayas, because that was kind of like a big staple for them. It was part of the industry that brought in money that they needed with the type of crop. So she wanted to restrict it because it had GMOs in it, which they said was harmful to the environment and to people. And then they brought in, so they had kind of like a court session, they brought in these other people that were an anti-GMO activist, and one of them, like, that they named was Jeffrey Smith, and I guess he's big on that. He's well known around the world. He's also an activist. And he's not a scientist, or he's not a doctor, which he later stated in the video, but he's against GMO. And he kind of gives examples of why. Some of the examples is that a person can get possibly hepatitis, or is more susceptible to colds, which there's really no fact based on that. It's more of an opinion from what the video was saying. And it seems like there's not enough fact behind what he had to say and his groups that he had involved in what they showed in the video. Some other people that were part of the anti-GMO groups was Zen Honeycutt, who they show later on in the video towards the end, and she is part of Moms Across America, and she's a mom, she has children, and she believes that GMOs are not safe because of the pesticides that they use, that the pesticides are known for causing harm to children, health-wise. So that's why she's against that. But a lot of the things that these anti-GMO groups have, they don't have facts or evidence that's based on that. Now, it may seem like facts and evidence based to them, but they're not really searching out the truth. That's part of the problem there. And then you have the pro-GMO groups and advocates. So some of those, like they had also in the end of the movie, was March Against Myths, and they try to prove that some of the myths that are told are not true. And they try to give facts behind it. But they're very kind of argumentative in some of the cases. And a lot of these people of these different groups are actually argumentative. And they don't always base it on facts. Another one is industrial scale farmers. And one of the industrial scale farmers is from Hawaii. He was responsible for the rainbow papaya farms. And a long time ago, according to the video, it was, they said it was like 20 years ago or so. It's somewhere in my notes. But anyways, they gave examples of how the papaya industry went down, and that was kind of their staple food that they needed to keep the country going. And because of that, it really hit the country really hard and hurt their industry and their profit. So the scientist needed a way to see if he could bring these plants back, even though they were basically gone. That was about it. But he did a 7-year research according to the video, and they tested both plants. They took a hypothesis. They tested both plants that, well, one was genetically modified, so they inserted using kind of like a vaccination into the plant, and then the other one was just a regular plant that was growing like out in the wild. And they found out that after 7 years, that the gene that they used from the DNA of the plant that they injected into the genetically modified plant was actually one that was growing better. It was a lot healthier, and it bore fruit and didn't die, whereas the other plant did. And so after that, it kind of concluded their evidence that the GMO plant could revive and make it a more stable environment and make profit, not just for money purposes, but can help their country survive. Then you had organic and small scale farmers they mentioned. One was Emma, I hope I said her name right, Emma Naluyami Mugurwa, I think is how she said it. She's from Uganda, and she is an organic farmer that she plants bananas, and her crop grows really well because she uses a couple of things. One is that all their workers they can't, okay, so, sorry, not all their workers, but they try not to have people from other farms come and help. Now, if it's necessary, then they have to use like a disinfectant to kind of protect the plants in the soil. And then their tools they have all has to be from that farm, their farm. It can't go anywhere else. It can't be shared because that also, she thinks, might hinder her crops. And she had two things. She said these are mainly precautions that she mentioned, but they're not like cures to what can keep the banana plants from dying. And the problem they're having in Uganda is that the plants are dying from a disease that they call wilt. So it basically kills a plant and just takes over, and that's about it. It ruins the whole crop. Kind of like what happened to some of the tobacco farmers a long time ago in history. They had a disease and it killed a lot of their crops and they had to get rid of it. And with the people in Uganda, they either try to eliminate it by putting up either, they don't really use pesticides there because the way the country is, but like they try to use different ways to get it to stop, or they have to completely eliminate that whole plant. And with what Emma is seeing with her results, she's not really having that problem because she's doing an organic style. So, so far from what they showed from then and then now, she's doing really good with her crops. Whereas another lady, she basically lost all of her crops, but she could not get the GMO because at that time the country had banned it. And now that has lifted, and I don't know, they didn't really say what year they had lifted that. But banana in that country is a staple and something that they need in order to survive, and that's what a lot of the families survive on. They sell the bananas in order to make food or bring in money for their family so they can get food for them. Then you also had agricultural biotech companies, and one of them they gave an example on was Monsanto. And Monsanto was known for originally doing what they call DDT, which was a type of chemical, I believe it was, they said, that killed mosquitoes that had malaria, and it actually saved a lot of lives during World War II, I think is what they said. But they had to get rid of that. From what I heard in the past, they had to get rid of that because of environmentalists. But it did save a lot of lives. Then they also had Agent Orange, which they used in the Vietnam War. That did help, but also had some side effects to it. It did harm some people, especially some of the soldiers that were part of that. And I know that from some family members from a friend that we know, her husband actually had a lot of problems with Agent Orange. That's nothing That's supposed to be in this video, but just so that's a fact there. Let's see what else. Then you have the scientists that they mentioned, and there's different kinds of scientists that they had. Some of them do agree with it, some of them don't agree with it. A lot of what these different companies stand on, and a lot of what these scientists believe in, is kind of, some have facts, some don't. There seems to be, no one really knows what the truth really is. I think Monsanto has kind of almost shown to the world that they have the facts, but then again, no one, from what I was seeing in the video, there doesn't seem to be really much evidence anywhere. I don't know if they just don't have enough studies that they've done, and it seems like they don't have enough studies that they have done in order to see if GMO is really harmful or not. Monsanto has used what they call BT and then Roundup. Roundup is a weed killer, which has proven results, but I have also heard that there have been side effects from it. But they do stand behind their product, and it seems from what the debate that they had later on in the video, it does seem that their product was doing good. It was killing more weeds, but with decreased pesticides is what they were saying. And then they also used BT, and that was for, I think, developing the crops. Hold on, let me just check my notes real fast. So BT was Bacillus thuringiensis, I think is how it's called. It was their first GMO that was produced, was to help farmers protect their crops from insects by using naturally occurring insecticide known as that BT. And some farmers have used it and have seen a difference in it. Then again, they stand behind their product, and it has seemed to help. From one chart that was seen though, it has helped with pests, but some of the plants have become resistant to it. It seemed like that's what the chart was saying. According to like the toxicity has reduced. It has not helped that at all. So it helped the farmers that they don't have to spray as much on their plants, you know, for the bugs. And of course, like I mentioned, the other GMOs, the seeds that had the weed killer, which is called Roundup. They did give some testimonies to some of the farmers that because of the GM technology, it has actually helped their crops, and they have been able to make a better life, I guess you could say, for it. So with the scientists, with what a lot of them they gave, because there's like a battle between all the scientists, I think because science has been not always true like it should have been, you always had so many false sciences, is why scientists are battling to tell what is really true. And you know, you tell a lie enough, as one person said, and eventually it's believed. And I think that's what happened in science. They didn't always tell the truth, and because of that, not everyone can trust science. That'd be considered false science. With the agricultural biotech companies like Monsanto, they are doing really well, it seems, with their products. At first it was, yeah, everyone hates them, but actually they're doing really well with money-wise. The farmers that use the GMO or genetically engineering, GE, products seem to be doing well with their crops. From the two examples I gave, like Emma in Uganda, and the papaya farmer, but also he's a scientist, that seems to have helped their businesses to grow, and now they're able to produce more crops and help to sustain their money in order to survive. And with the other groups, it's some of them do good, some of them don't. A lot of it seems to be based on biased opinion and hatred towards one another, and more of how can we uplift ourselves than really what's based on facts and science. So hopefully that answers question 1. Question 2, what are the pros and cons of GM foods? And provide at least 3 of each. So the pros of GM foods is, one I would say would be examples of like the crops in Uganda and by Emma and the one about the papaya farmer. They're seeing the pros to them is that they can get bigger crops, they can get it faster to countries that need it, such as the US. And that helps their country to survive and get the money that they need to provide for their families and live a better life. Another example, let me look through my notes that they gave, is that the crops can be not resistant, but can last longer because of insects that destroy them with the pesticides. As long as they're not harmful to the environment, it can help their crops get bigger and larger, and then they can provide more food to the country, such as the farmer in the US. I forget what his name is. I think it was Raul Adamchak, I think it was the one, and how he doesn't use, I guess I should back up. He doesn't use GMO. He uses organic the organic industry. But he said that with technology, you kind of have to use both sides. If it works, I'm paraphrasing here, if it works, basically use it. If you know it's better for the plants, if you know it's better for your crops, then use it. Another example was getting safe and abundant, nutritious food for all. So one thing they touched on, and I'm kind of going back here a little bit, but they said that basically everything that all these people are trying to do, all these type of groups, all these activists, they're basically trying to do 3 things. A way to find fewer chemicals that we don't have to use so much on the products that we have, a more sustainable food system, and then abundant and nutritious food for all. And I think the abundant and nutritious food for all could be some of the companies that we have today that provide some the foods that we have. So like papaya for one thing. Do we need it? Maybe not, but we have like crops that we need. We have corn, we have rice that we need. Ways to make our world a better place to live, because we need food in order to survive. So I hope that kind of touches on the second part. And let me just grab my battery charger because my thing's about to die and I thought it was going to do good. But I'll still talk. What did I learn in this video after evaluating the answers to number 1 and 2? Describe the views on GMO foods. So do I think that GMOs should be labeled or included in the foods that we purchase to eat? Why or why not? Yes, I think GMOs should be labeled, just because everyone has an opinion, everyone has a belief and kind of a right to know what they want to consume, what they don't want to consume, what they think is helpful or harmful. Doesn't mean that we should be biased to any opinion or have our own opinions. It's okay to have your own opinions, but if there's facts there, if there's truth, then we need to believe that. And if it's not based on facts or truth, then what are you believing? I think it should be labeled just because it's safer. It doesn't get a lot of people upset because not everyone trusts everything that either is done by government or by some corporations, depending on their name, like Monsanto, for example. Some people do not trust that name brand, so sometimes it's just better and safer just to put GMO on there if it is a genetically modified food. And what did I learn in this video? I learned that I want to know more about GMO. I have heard some things in the past. I tried to find information in the past on GMO, but I could not find anything on their internet. It seemed like it was, I think GMO was something that, especially in America, we don't want to talk about. We don't want to hear what really, if there is danger, if there's not danger. It's like a hush hush, let's not talk about this. But I think we need more facts on it. We need more truth if it's harmful, if it's not harmful. And then from there you can just base it on what you believe in, whether or not you agree with it or not. So that is my video, and I'm sorry for all the ums in this, but I hope I answered all the questions and it was an enjoyable video to watch, and thank you for watching.